let's get into topic number one. So the other day we talked about Malcolm-Jamal Warner passing away. We heard that he was pulled out from a current, on the beach. He was out in Costa Rica with his family and was having a good old time. And then this current kind of swept him out. But now we come to find out that what had happened was his daughter was the one who got pulled out by the current. He went in to save her, but he unfortunately couldn't make it back to save himself, and he died by asphyxiation. So I have the details on that. So the article, wait, before we get into that, I do want to say like there was a couple of celebrities because we didn't really get into them. The people that really spoke out and sent their condolences, everyone from Tracy Ellis Ross, because they worked on a show called Read Between the Lines and they played a married couple. Eddie Griffin, who he was on Malcolm and Eddie with back on the UPN. I used to love that sitcom when it was on. Eddie Griffin sent his condolences. Then we had Niecy Nash sent her condolences. Also, Angela Bassett, he worked with on 911. And I believe she also was on, I think Angela Bassett did co-star on The Cosby Show. Yeah, she's been around since the 80s. So I believe she did do an episode of The Cosby Show, one of those shows. I remember I did spot her on the sitcom back in the day. So as a guest star. So yeah, she sent her condolences. Also, Wendell Pierce, who, plays Perry White in the new Superman movie. He sent his condolences. Not Halle Berry. Angela Bassett's husband, Courtney B. Vance, also sent his condolences. And then who else? So we have Marley Matlin, Ashley Jones from The Resident when they worked together. And everybody talked about how nice he was and how kind he was and what a big heart he had, and always talked about his poetry and his music and all that other stuff. So he was always, one of the things I always loved about Malcolm-Jamal Warner is that he was always active. Like he was one of the rare child stars who kept the job. Whereas you see all these other ones, they falling apart. They got caught up in drugs. There was all this other stuff. Now Malcolm-Jamal Warner, Malcolm stayed with a job. So that was the one thing I loved about him, that he was a hustler. He always had something that he was out here doing, and he was always advocating for Black people. So that was the one thing I loved about him, because, he also had a podcast. And then also Bill Cosby himself sent out his condolences and things of that nature. So there was a lot of people out here who sent their condolences. But in addition to that, the article from the Daily Mail said basically that, it says, according to the police, surfers leapt into action after spotting the late actor, best known for his role as Theo Huxtable on the sitcom The Cosby Show, and his little girl struggling in the ocean after getting caught by a rip current. Now, after diving in to help, law enforcement told ABC News that one surfer used his board to bring Warner's daughter to safety, and a volunteer lifeguard pulled Warner and another surfer to shore. Warner, who died of asphyxia by submersion, was given 45 minutes of CPR. Unfortunately, he could not be revived and was pronounced dead at the scene by authorities. He was 54. The father and daughter were swimming near Cocles, a beach in Limon, Costa Rica, before tragedy struck. So the outlet noted that both surfers survived the harrowing ordeal on Sunday. Now, Daily Mail has reached out to Warner's representatives for comment, and you should already know, because they're grieving at this moment, Daily Mail, that they're not going to respond to any kind of comments regarding what has happened with him. Like, give the family time to grieve, and then you'll get your comment down the road. Now, prior to his passing, Warner made a conscious effort to keep his daughter and wife out of the spotlight, a part of the occasional social media posts. And I've seen them, and out of respect for the family, I'm not going to show the pictures. That's why I'm going to just keep this one up, because it's like, if y'all want to look and see what the daughter and the wife look like, you can Google schmoogle. They're out there. So, but out of respect, I'm not going to post the photos. Now, for privacy reasons, he chose not to publicly disclose his daughter or wife's names. Earlier this week, officials announced that a man left in critical condition was trying to save the actor. A spokesman for the Judicial Investigation Agency, OIJ for short, revealed the Good Samaritan had entered the water to help Warner after he was swept away by a rip current. A statement obtained by People confirmed that the unidentified 35-year-old man had no personal connection to the actor beforehand and was simply on the beach at the time Warner got into difficulty. Well, there are such good things called Good Samaritans. I know this might be a little far-fetched for you, Daily Mail, who likes to just throw the word woke around whenever y'all get a chance, because it makes you sound somewhat intelligent. But, there are actual people out here who give a good goddamn about others and will leap into action because that's the right thing to do. So they don't need to have some type of attachment in order to, want to help someone. Now Warner was swimming in okay, so now they keep repeating themselves because now that somebody he was in we already told him he was in Playa Cocoles in Limon province when a current pulled him deeper into the ocean. First responders found Warner without vital signs when they attended the scene of the water-related incident around 2:10 p.m. on Sunday. Per the OIJ, Warner's body will be removed from the judicial morgue by a funeral service company hired and authorized by his family. According to TMZ, his remains are scheduled to leave Costa Rica on Thursday and will arrive in LA on Friday morning. A source told the outlet that the actor's body was turned over by the judicial morgue on Wednesday morning following the completion of his autopsy. Now, following Warner's shock death, lifeguards in Playa Grande, a beach community located on the Pacific coast of Costa Rica, released a statement saying they were not present due to lack of resources. So, with them saying that they were not present due to lack of resources, meaning that if y'all know that they have situations out here like currents and stuff, you should have lifeguards and things of that nature out there to help people out. But when you say that they pretty much have to have cuts because they don't have the resources or the bodies to be able to put out there and fund making sure that people are safe on these beaches and that these things are not happening, unfortunately, it takes the death of someone, and now it seems like the universe is like, well, it unfortunately had to be a big celebrity for probably whoever is out there cutting corners in Costa Rica could be held accountable and be like, okay, now we cannot have this happen again. So now the money is just going to have to, y'all got to find the money somewhere to make sure that the resources in place so that way this doesn't happen again to another human being. Because unfortunately, it's like the only time people pay attention or give a damn is when it happens to a celebrity. It can happen to a regular person, nobody cares. But if it happens to a celebrity, the money all of a sudden comes pouring in because it looks bad on them. So they said it all happened very quickly, and although there were people on the beach who entered the water to rescue him, they did not arrive in time. Now, he was pulled from underwater without vital signs, and despite CPR maneuvers being performed on the beach, resuscitation was unsuccessful. The guard added that Playa Grande is one of their most challenging beaches, noting the presence of signs in English and Spanish that warn of the danger of death due to drowning. Now, per the guard, though the guard has patrolled there over the past few years, they allege they were not present at the time of his death. Now, due to recent aquatic incidents in Playa Negra, we had redirected resources there into Chiquita, another iconic beach known for its strong currents. They then made an appeal to Costa Rica's president, go after his ass, Rodrigo Chavez Robles, and the government. And so, and then it said from Caribbean Guard, a volunteer lifeguard association, we made an urgent appeal to the president of the nation, the national government, the municipality of Talamanca, and the entire Caribbean community to continue joining forces to minimize this problem, which sadly is on the rise across the entire country. So y'all been aware that stuff of this has been going on, and these government officials haven't been doing anything, which is pretty much what I said before I read the rest of this article. And now, like I said, unfortunately, it had to happen to a celebrity. And this is always like the case when, it goes on deaf ears when it comes to these politicians. But when a celebrity is affected, then all of a sudden it looks bad on them, and then they want to save face, and then they want to, do what they're supposed to have done when we gave them the warning signs eons ago. So they said we do everything within our reach. We have saved numerous lives in recent years, and if Caribbean Guard didn't exist, the number of drownings would be counted in dozens. We give everything we have to minimize the risk, but without help from the government, clear public policies, and strong support from local business owners, this will continue to happen. Now, on Sunday, the Costa Rican Red Cross received a 911 alert about a water incident at Playa Grande, Cahuita Limon. In response, 3 ambulances were sent to the scene as per Us Weekly. Costa Rica's Judicial Investigation Department told Us Weekly that their preliminary investigation indicated Warner appeared to have entered the sea and was apparently swept away by a current. And they said that he was in Costa Rica since the 13th of July. So he was out there for a minute. And they said we already know he was where his iconic role was. He was on The Cosby Show. And, he was like the only son that was on the show. So I related to Theo in a lot of ways, especially like who didn't grow up? Well, I guess, except unless you Gen Z. But for the most part, a lot of us, elder millennials, Gen X, some millennials also, people live for it in reruns. We all grew up watching The Cosby Show. So, hearing something about this is unfortunate. Oh, I forgot to also mention Raven Simone sent her condolences and stuff too, because she was on the show. She played Olivia. So yeah, unfortunately, this is just sad, and yeah, so that's the latest basically on Malcolm Jamal Warner. I'll definitely be keeping abreast of the story as it develops. I mean, we know a little bit. They did do an autopsy, but I'm sure they're going to release some more information. Because this same thing that happened with the Vivian when they passed. There was more information that kept coming out. The pre thing. I mean, the thing that they talked about before they did the autopsy, and then the autopsy recently came out. We found that out. So I'm sure the same thing will happen where we'll find out the full autopsy report because TMZ nosy behind gonna get their hand on it. So, and then I will bring y'all that information when it comes out. So, in the meantime, I definitely want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think of this story, the latest on Malcolm Jamal Warner and what had happened to him in his final moments while he was out in Costa Rica? And hopefully, you know, if anybody out there who's planning on traveling to Costa Rica, just use this as a warning to be like, yeah, you need to be aware of just how dangerous these currents are on those beaches and stuff out there. So that and hopefully the government gets themselves together because now that a major American celebrity has passed. But then again, with this current administration, I don't think American lives pretty much matter to people over in other parts of the world. But nevertheless, yeah, that's the latest. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below.